It is that time of week again. Welcome to you all. Actually, we're a day early this time, everyone. Welcome back to SWAT. Guys, you know what you get when you come here. No bullshit, no spruiking, no messing, no tomfoolery, no ad placing, no hidden agenda, no accidentally sliding in a product we think you should buy, no casually mentioning underlying future projects. No painfully awkward stiffness between hosts. No laughing hysterically at the other guy's joke that really wasn't that funny at all. No entertainment center, no climate control, no video system, no surveillance, no freezers, no fucking ice cream. All you get here is serious watch talk with myself and Alex Foti. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you, Yoshi?
I'm good, man.
As you can see, I'm going to say now my eyes slightly closed because I've got an eye infection. So I've not been in any fights or anything. It's just like an eye, and then my glands are lifted here. So
you sure you weren't staring at some guy's girlfriend?
Some guy's
in the
chick.
bar? And he took one.
Dee's gave me a good punch. Dee's got lucky, you see, and I'm pulling out on it.
Guys, welcome everybody. I'll let people roll in. People, there's a couple of things I have to say. First of all, yes, we're normally on a Saturday, but we decided to do Friday. I normally do Who Needs a Drink on a Friday, but let's do it SWAT tonight. Get it straight into the watch stuff. You don't need me going on about my bloody life anymore. I've been talking about that too much lately anyway. So it is, of course, as always, a podcast. So if you want to listen to this back and you don't want to have to stare at the screen or leave your YouTube on your phone, maybe you're driving or something like that, or you have your phone in your pocket, the podcast is the easiest way to enjoy the show all the same. Wherever you find your podcasts, the Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, whatever. Also, guys, the show is going out on 2 channels tonight. We have a SWAT channel. SWAT is now its own channel, and I want you guys to do me a favor and go over and sub there, because if you don't, you're going to start missing the episodes. I'm going to put a link right there in the chat, or you could just go on YouTube and look for SWAT, Serious Watch Talk. Get over there and sub, because probably as early as next week, we're going to be going out on that channel and that channel only. Right now, we're going out on both, so you can switch right over there right now and continue watching the show from there if you feel like it. However, if you want a super chat, you should stay over here, because I don't think super chats are set up over there yet. Anyway, guys, I urge you guys to do it. Alex, what are we talking about tonight?
Well, I want to talk about the video that you did. I actually watched it while I was driving to work. Sorry, I watched it before and then listened to it again. I wasn't watching it while I was driving to work because that's illegal. Just everything, the way you put it, the way it was very dramatic but very Ocean. I really enjoyed the music, the emotion, the drive, and it's like almost like the video that you created is something that I think a lot of people think about but don't take action and make. It's very difficult to imagine something of that sort and actually put it in film. But it's true what you say about Rolex. However, Rolex are going with the fashion like anything, no different than clothes. You know, they're obviously catering to how the market is, and they're catering to purists, and then they're catering to more of the bling. So you don't blame them, do you? I mean, it is about business at the end of the day, and this is a company that make errors and still their watches go for more value. So it's a win-win situation, isn't it? I mean, who would think that the Eye of the Tiger would be worth so much money?
I know, that's ugly thing. I know. Listen, I get it. I understand the whole thing. You know, I made that video kind of as just a step back for a minute, just to kind of put everything in perspective, because it's so easy to kind of lose vision, lose sight of the why and the how and all of that stuff. I get very caught up in everything else. And sometimes you just have to take a step back and actually look at things from a broader angle. And that's what I was trying to do with that. I'm wearing the said watch tonight. I'm wearing the Explorer 216570. Oops, daisy. And if my will focus right now, that would be great, wouldn't it? Anyway, there is a newer version, of course. There's the come on, there we are. There's the 226570, which is practically the same watch, wider bracelet on it, and a couple of small details on the dial that are not so obvious at first glance. But this is the watch from the video that Alex is referring to, in case any of you missed it. Yeah, man, thanks. I mean, look, as many people reminded me, that's what I do best, right? That kind of video. I didn't know what I was really doing at first. I was trying to kind of articulate, it kind of comes out of the blur of your mind, somehow you're kind of like, what are you talking about, dude? You second guess yourself a lot and you're like, where the hell am I going with this? But then it kind of gets clearer and clearer as you draw closer to completing it. And it was good to get the watch up there, because I really do believe it's one of the last. Now, some people were saying, what about the Milgauss? That's still a tool watch. What about the Air King? That's still a tool watch. And they're absolutely right. I just feel like this one's kind of first to the chopping block. I think maybe this year or next year, it's going to start getting like a ceramic bezel or something else. What do you think?
Well, I mean, the Explorer 2 is obviously, well, not obviously, but I see it as the most readable dial.
Yes.
You can't miss the time, can you?
You can read the time from across the room. If it's on someone else's wrist, you can read the time. It's amazing.
Yeah. And when you were saying like you weren't sure how the video was going, it just reminds me of when you don't plan a night out, it always tends to be the best nights.
Right.
So sometimes when you plan something, it never really goes as you wish, because you're trying to anxious thinking that it's got to be this way. But I think that's why I really enjoyed your video. It was I wasn't really sure where it was going, but I knew it was getting better and better. And that's what I really enjoyed watching. But regarding the Explorer 2, it is one of my favorite Explorers. The only thing as a watchmaker is refinishing that bezel can be tricky. You have to have the correct equipment to get that beautiful satin finish, because if it's not done right, your eye naturally looks at it and sees it,
catches it,
knowing from new what it should look like. So
you must have enjoyed it, all those close-ups, all the macros I got, like all that detail. Someone noticed that, a few people noticed that on the GMT hand, you can actually see a hair painted into the gloss. Did you notice that?
I must admit, I didn't
yeah,
notice that, no.
You're paying attention to the story, which I suppose is the point. I didn't notice it either, but then somebody was like, oh my God. I also noticed that the brushing on the bezel is kind of straight down. I don't know how they achieve that.
It's not easy.
It travels from the inside out almost.
It's not easy.
Which is shocking. I mean, how they do. I mean, clearly they do it before the bezel goes on the watch, or not.
Oh, of course. No, you got to lap the bezel. You got to do it before you put it on the watch. Not some people. There is certain people that try and finish it on the case, which doesn't. That's like trying to refinish an alloy wheel still on the car. It doesn't really make any sense. But
no, that would be a disaster.
Yeah.
You see what the spot is here. There's a spot here with a close-up of the bezel. Unfortunately, it's among all these sad shots of poor old Amy and stuff like that. I did feel some heat from the folks as well. Some people got upset. They're like, I didn't come here to start. They found it a little upsetting, not offensive, but upsetting. And I had to kind of put out an apology, because all of this stuff, Amy getting pulled out in a body bag and stuff like that, it's kind of harsh stuff. I mean, it's there for a reason. It's not gratuitous. It's actually right there. Now, do you see on the bottom? Do you see on that? See right there?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a
Wow.
hair.
Is that
I
a
wonder, can I
hair or
get
is that an
this?
imperfection? I don't think that's
It
a
looks
hair.
almost like a hair that's going across. I mean, you cannot see it with the naked eye.
Did you buy
People
the watch
forget.
new?
Yes.
Brand new from AD?
I mean, it came from the AD. I didn't get it from the AD myself directly. I paid extra.
Ah, okay. So, but was it as in with stickers brand new?
Yes. It was
Okay.
with stickers brand new. Yes.
Okay. Well, that magnification isn't too magnified, if that makes sense. It's not heavy magnification.
No, it's not 60 times or
No,
whatever. No.
no.
But it looks like a hair. A lot of people are watching the video on the big screen, which is the best way to watch the stuff, I think. And they saw, I got messages immediately. I got two types of messages about the vid, man. One was, you bastard, now I'm upset, and or whatever. And the other, I mean, bad messages. All the good ones were great, but and then there was this, like, oh my god, there's a hair on the GMT hand.
I've got
To which all I can say is this watch will be worth money if someone discovers it later in years to come. They'll be like, "Is this the one with the hair on the?" It's like the APH style, right?
the hairy explorer.
Hair Explorer. So, I mean, like, what do you think? I mean, these watches, as I said, it is getting a little bit crazy, and it is. I own a gold sub, like I own a gold sub. I have a beauty. I have the pre-ceramic. That's an absolute beauty, but it's a bloody gold watch, and it ain't been brought down into the water. I would barely get into a pool with the damn thing. So, like, what are we doing? Like, how far does this go?
Look, I mean, some people say to me, what's the point of me paying that much money for a gold watch when it has the same movement and it's just in gold? Because if you were to weigh the gold, it will never come to that sort of money. But it's not about that. That doesn't make sense. If you want to invest in gold, then you buy it as in blocks, or you go to a company called Mene, MENE.com, that make jewelry out of 24 karat gold and only add a very small amount on the value of the gold. And they literally make 24 karat gold that you can wear, and they actually buy it back. That's a company called Mene. And I'm only mentioning this because I love what they do and I don't get paid to mention them. But if you're interested in jewelry that is worth the value of what you're paying, then that makes sense. But if you're buying a gold watch thinking that the weight of it is the same as what you pay, then you're going to be disappointed. It doesn't work like that. You know what I'm trying to say, Oshin, don't you?
I know. I mean, I'm not even talking about value. I'm just talking about, isn't it an oxymoron to say to make a watch that can resist deep pressures and then make it out of platinum or make it out of gold or white gold? Isn't it? It's like, it almost doesn't make any sense. I credit Panerai for this because Panerai took a lot of shit for making their Lume Due. And the Lume Due looks like a Panerai, feels like a Panerai, is made by Panerai, has that whole design, all that, gorgeous, aesthetic. But they don't go down that deep underwater, the Due. They go down to like 30 meters. It's basically nothing. Which a lot of people, of course, say, well, now you've lost the spirit of Panerai. These are actually made for diving and for operations underwater. That was the whole point in the first place. How could you do this to the brand? But I think from their perspective, at least they're saying, listen, ain't anybody diving with our watches anymore. All we're doing now is recreating the art that was developed over many decades that everybody wants now. They buy their Panerai because they want the look of the Panerai, not because they necessarily want to dive with it. Now, if they do want to dive with it, of course, they continue making their regular luminars. And they have the submersible that go down even farther. But if all you want is the look of the Panerai, you want to become a Panerista, you've got the option. So in a weird way, I don't know. I'm still on the fence about how it is, but it's just odd to me that Rolex, like, yes, we check the seals on your beautiful platinum watch that will never see the water. You know, we made sure water will never get in, and we also made sure it will never get in the water because we made it in gold. We made it in platinum. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but if we're going to go down this rabbit hole,
Yeah,
right? What about Range Rovers, cars that never see off road?
that's right.
What about Porsches that are for racing that never see a track?
Correct.
What about kitchens that people buy and no one
I
really
never
cooks in
cook
them?
and order in pizza every night.
I grew up with two kitchens because Greeks and Jews, we have two kitchens.
Uh
One
huh.
humongous one that looks like something out of like a hotel, and then the most tiniest one where the real cooking happens.
Was that the Greek one?
Yeah, that's a Greek one.
Course. I mean, between both cuisines, there's no argument there. Greek food is some of the best in the world. You're right, though. Like you're right. You know, uh, shit.
It's
I,
show. It's show. Life. A lot of what we do in life is show. We don't
yeah,
actually use what we have. It's more a show. It, everything. Cars, watches. Who even uses the GMT function, Ocean? Some people don't even
I swear.
understand.
Every morning I get up and I swear that I'm going to, and then I don't. Because of course I'm in different time zones all the time because I'm here and I still have my business in New York and all my friends are still there and my family in Los Angeles and somewhere in the back of my head still feel like a New Yorker after all those years there. So I want to track the New York time. Quite often I think in New York time. When I open the weather app on my phone, New York comes up first. I have to swipe right to see Venice. So I'm kind of half in my mind. I'm still half there for some bizarre reason. And I always set my GMT to New York time. And whenever I want to know the time there, I just do the math in my head. It only takes a second anyway. Or if I'm, dizzy headed for some reason, I might look at the phone and figure it out or something like that. I don't know. I rarely, if ever, look at the GMT hand. So you're right.
Let me put it this way. How many people buy a mobile phone and actually use all its functions? Just let's think about this. There's not many people that will use an iPhone and use every single function that it's.
True.
We just have it for the sake of having it. It's
what they say about Adobe Photoshop, the most famous picture editing software in the world. 90% of the people only use 10% of the features. Look, we buy these watches. Like if we want pure function now, we're going to buy a G-Shock or we're going to buy an Apple Watch.
Yeah. That's true.
Anybody diving is probably using G-Shocks. And anybody who needs functions and all sorts of things, gadgets and so on, you want an alarm on your watch, you can either buy a perpetual time with a little dinger alarm from Patek for $100,000 or 200,000, or you can just buy yourself an Apple Watch for $300 and it'll do just as good a job, if not better. So yes, look, I know that, some people were making the point as well that it was the quartz crisis that really forced a lot of these brands into the luxury side, the jewelry side of it. Because once quartz hit the market, it just made so much more sense. The watch brands up until then were boasting their accuracy. They were boasting, how great they were, how dependable they were, how accurate they were in the cold and the heat and the water, etc. Then quartz hit the market and it was like just blew the shit out of them, accuracy wise. So now they couldn't use that as an angle anymore. Now their only angle was, don't you want a Rolex? Don't you want this beautiful thing that James Bond wore, that the Pan Am pilots use? It became a thing about class,
Well, look at the oyster quartz. It's one of my favorites. I mean, how many quartz did Omega do? Because Omega at one point were at the top of their game and they lost it. But the oyster quartz is just a fascinating design. It's just there's something very unique about it, very retro, especially in the gold form. It is one of my favorite pieces. But I don't know. Did I ever tell you the story about when the Japanese and the Swiss basically rival timekeeping? I don't know if you knew the Swiss once had a competition who could be the best timekeeper. Did you know the story?
Yeah, I think you said it to me before that Seiko kept blowing the shit out of them, or
Yeah,
Grand
and
Seiko,
then
was it?
yeah, and then basically the Swiss stopped the competition because they realized they couldn't win it.
Yes.
Look, at the end of the day, if we're going to talk about quartz watches will always be more accurate than mechanical. But a mechanical watch has the heart, it has the passion, it has
Yeah.
something that a quartz watch is very difficult to have. I mean, I believe is it FP Joanne made like a quartz piece.
Mm.
But I don't know how it works. I'm ignorant to it because I don't know. I
Hmm.
don't think I'll ever see one, but it doesn't excite me. It doesn't excite me. I wouldn't buy one, but then again, I've not seen one. But I can't get excited over that.
That's the funny one with the tonneau, the elegante with the tonneau shape. It's called the elegante, and it goes on very low power mode when it's not being when you're not moving around. You pick up the watch and then it flies ahead to the correct time, kind of like a G-Shock does when you set it. Interesting watch. Um, I'm always impressed when they incorporate quartz into things like, with the Accutron, the Space View from Belova years ago with that tuning fork, and then of course Grand Seiko. What Grand Seiko do? There's no battery. It's a quartz watch with no battery. How did they figure that one out? Well, it uses the pressure and it spins the little wheel that then creates electromagnetism and electromagnetic force translated into electricity, movement of a magnet translated, and then into the rest of the watch. So you're kind of getting you're kind of getting the best of all worlds. That's why Grand Seiko fans continue to bang their head off the wall saying, "Don't you guys know Grand Seiko is the greatest watch in the world?" Because it kind of is marrying all these amazing technologies together. So it does have soul, it does have spirit. It is a moving watch, a living, breathing watch, if you want to put it that way. But it also has that quartz accuracy.
You can't be mechanical. It's just there's a lot of romance, a lot of passion in it. It's basically a beating heart on your wrist. It is something you can't. A quartz watch doesn't really come close, Oshin. It doesn't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because it seems lifeless. It's like a robot. It's like,
Mm.
that's the reason we're all against it. So we definitely, I used to say this as well, that we're kind of art collectors. It's a funny thing to me because I'm into art myself. I'm a bit of an art snob. I'm a wine snob. I'm a blah, blah, blah snob. I'm into all of that crap. I'll walk into a modern art exhibition and, go, "Oh, look at that beautiful Matisse." And a friend
Mm.
standing next to me will go, "It's just two lines in a square. That's stupid. I could have done that." I'm like, "Oh, you idiot. You don't understand the greatness." I'm one of those assholes. And when I got into watches, the same part of my brain was stimulated. However, I noticed the watch world is full of guys who aren't into any of the rest of those things. They're just into the watches. They find the rest of it all to be all poncy nonsense, right? But they love the watches. And I'm always saying, listen, you're a snob too. You are, whether you know it or not. Oh, you don't think so? Okay, let me put you in the middle of a party or a friend's house, and you're wearing your beautiful watch, your Patek or whatever, and some guy has a bloody Apple Watch and starts showing you how great his watch is and looks down at your watch. Then what's going to happen? Then you're going to go, then we'll see the beast come out, because then you'll be like, "Don't you understand? This is about history and art and perfection and mechanics and engineering and Galileo Galilei." And, he'll start hitting them with that. So there is a lot of the watch game that is, maybe I pushed it too far in the video just talking about utility, because it isn't all about utility at the end of the day, is it?
Look, I mean, we're getting generations now that don't understand what it's like when you drive a V8 or a V12 car and you start it from cold and you hear that noise and you wake up half the neighbors and that beautiful noise. And
Right.
my father used to have a Mercedes 350 SE V8, and as I was a young boy, he even had a TV in it in the 80s.
Wow.
And he had like a boomerang on the back, and it was green, so it was nuts. And then I ended up buying a V8, 6.1 V8 SRT8, and when I used to start it in the morning, that noise, that you can't beat it. And now we've just got electric cars, that even make fake noise. So they even
See,
make a fake noise,
right.
while
See,
you're
Phil,
driving it,
yeah,
and also out of fake noise, so it doesn't run anybody over.
right. Because it's so silent. It's a hazard. Yeah, man. It's food for thought. 465 in the room. Great to have you all. We're a day early with SWAT this week. I figured I'd give Alex his Saturday to his family and Skip, who needs a drink. Mind you, I might have a drink a little later on, guys. If Alex needs to go home, I might hang out with you guys a little bit later and we'll kind of blend the shows together. But for now, this is serious watch talk. We're going to move on to another subject in a moment. And of course, as always, at the end of the show, we're going to do rapid fire questions. So if you've got questions for Alex, I mean, for me, sure, but I'm sure it's Alex is the man who you really want to ask about your watch, anything technical, anything on the inside, on the outside of the watch, how to take care of your watch, whatever the case may be. Whatever comes to mind, you can hit us with those questions a little later in the show. And once again, guys, I'm going to put the link in the comments again for the SWAT channel. Please go over there right now and continue watching this episode. It's exactly the same thing. It's going out on both channels right now. Go over there and sub, because soon all these episodes will be only over there and you won't get them here. And then you'll be asking me, where the hell have those great episodes gone? And that's where they are. Next topic, Lume. Can we talk about Lume?
Yes. What? Go on. What? I think you could educate me on this subject. I'm going.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, look. The Lume for me is something that, obviously, I work with watches, but Lume is I learn a lot from others about Lume. There's a lot to learn from Lume, and it's obviously sorry, go on. I was going to about to say about restoring dials and how you can tell if hands have been redone. And
please, yeah.
Okay, so one of the things I get frustrated with, Oshin, is when people buy Submariners and then they want to relume. No, don't do it.
They want Lume put onto the old dial.
Yeah. They want to relume. That's
Is that possible?
That's like, it reminds me of a time when I went to my tia's, my auntie's, and she had a big bowl of pasta and it was beautiful, and she decided to just chuck a load of ketchup on it. I almost got off the table and just went up. It just, and I looked at my mom, and my mom looked at me like, "Ma, Maxero, what's going on here? I don't know." But yeah, you don't do that. You don't do that. You don't. It's like adding water to wine.
Right.
It doesn't make sense, because if you want Lume, buy a watch that has a Lume that's alive. You don't add Lume, because you're destroying the look of the watch. You're devaluing it. Also, you can look at what time it is at night. It doesn't. Don't do it, please. Just leave it. Don't re-Lume, because you will just destroy the look of it, and it never looks nice. And then no.
Lume is an odd thing to me in the world of watches, because, I mean, there are a few misconceptions. One misconception I want to hit pretty quick is the idea that Lume kind of fades in a linear manner. Now, I don't mean to diss his channel. He's one of my favorite guys, and I love him, and he's one of the greatest guys in the watch space on YouTube. But Jody from Just One More Watch, he does a thing called Lume Wars, and he takes the two watches and looms them up, and he puts a camera over them and does a time lapse thing. And you see the hands go around real fast because it's on a time lapse, and you see the Lume fading, and whichever one has faded before the other one loses, or the other one wins. Now, I have an issue with that. Again, love Jody, fellow Celt, so respect and all of that stuff. Great channel, one of the best. But for me, Lume is this, right? when you learn, when I photograph a watch like that video you saw yesterday, right, my channel, that's freshly loomed. I'm sure you know, right? But for the sake of photography, I mean, if you were to watch the video, you would think, shit, is that thing loomed up all night? It's fucking beautiful. No, that's about a minute window I have to take as much photography as I can in that moment. Then I got to get in and relume with my little UV lamp, right? It's UVB, right? It's the B rays. The A are the ones that give you a tan or skin cancer or whatever. The B is the one that lights up your lume. That's why you step in out of the sun on holiday and into inside wherever you're staying in your hotel or whatever, and your watch is like poof, lume's going crazy, right? The lume for me, first of all, it glows really, really on a good watch. It glows really, really brightly for the first 30 seconds or a minute. Then it dims. And it's a bit like a comet shape, you know, it's like it got a big bulb at the front and then dims slowly. And then it maintains this low dim for all night or most of the night. And that's not really visible to the eye unless you wake up at 4 a.m, your irises are completely dilated, and now you can read the time. It's not going to come up in Jodie's Lume Wars. You can't see it in the Lume Wars. It's not supposed, Lume isn't supposed to be bright like that. It's supposed to be very, very dim. It looks really, really bright for the first minute, then it dims, and then it stays at that kind of, it maintains that dimness then for hopefully 5 or 6 hours. Because if it were to stay as bright as it does at the beginning, and you woke up in the middle of the night and you looked at your watch, it would blow your eyes out of your head. It'd be way too strong. Lume is like, so there's a misconception that people think Lume starts bright and dims down in a linear fashion. It does not. It starts really bright, then dims down to where it's supposed to be, and then maintains that brightness for 5 or 6 hours. That's the point of Lume, as far as I can see. The other thing is, as you say, like, when are you really gonna need the Lume? Now, I've told this to, you know, I work a lot with the Zero West guys, you know, and they're always coming up with new design ideas and so on. And they send me their new watch and they're like, you know, can we do an episode on this one? It's got a fascinating story. And sometimes I say to them, guys, where's the Lume? Where's the Lume? Lume sells watches. It just does. It shouldn't, but it just does. You know, if I'm making any video on a watch, if I light up that Lume and do a nice juicy Lume shot, that watch will begin to sell. It's kind of sad, but it's like the little boy comes out in all of us. We just want to see our watch light up like something from Star Wars.
Yeah, it's definitely a man thing. I don't see women getting excited over Lume, do you?
No.
I've never heard a woman say, I don't like this watch because it doesn't Lume.
It's true. Women want the bracelet to be beautiful. They want it to be a beautiful bracelet and so on. Yeah, and a nice dial and so on. I actually have a theory. This is for a separate episode, but I have a theory that women are better, finer watch enthusiasts than men, because they're not misled by certain bullshit. They're purely into it. But that's a whole other discussion.
Is it a complete different discussion though? But is that why most women's watches are quartz and not mechanical, or do you think that's just misinterpreted in the Swiss industry?
There's two reasons. As far as I can see, there are two reasons why most women's watches are quartz and not mechanical. One is because in general, they're a lot smaller. And to make them small and elegant, they just need to have that. It's like in Cartier, right? Most of those small ones are quartz. The second thing is, and this sounds misogynistic, and I suppose maybe it is in some ways, but women are a little less mechanical in their thing, the way they get in with and manipulate machines. You know, for every woman out there with, you know, oil on her hands from getting into an engine and fixing a V8 engine, there's 100 men. It's just more of a man thing. We're mechanical, we're nerds. We get in, we like to open the computer, rip it apart, upgrade the RAM, put in a new graphics card, and so on. There are women, of course, that love all of that stuff. But in general, and it's a heavy generalization, I think women like set it and forget it. Set the watch and just forget it. Not have to worry about, oh, did I wind it? Did it, you know? Whereas some guys, I think, prefer the mechanical aspect. They don't want to set it and forget it. They want to get in and manipulate and poke and prod their watch and fool around with their watch. I mean, how many of the guys last week were asking about Cape Cod cloths and demagnetizers and little machines to wash your watch with sound waves and so on? Why are you fucking around? Stop fucking around with your beautiful watch. Leave that to the engineers. But every dude is an amateur engineer at home, isn't he?
Yeah. Right? You actually do more harm than good.
Right.
Yeah, you should just leave it, just leave it to people that know what they're doing, right? Rather than you piss farting around and putting the wrong spring bars in and putting solid spring bars in. And then it comes to me and I have to drill out the solid spring bars because you didn't use proper spring bars. And
now let me ask you something. With getting back to Lume, have you ever had any issues with tritium? I'll go back. Any issues with radium? You ever get a radium watch in with radium on the dial?
I do.
I mean, you're talking pre-1960, 1950 or something, no?
Yeah, I've had those sort of watches in, but I've never had an issue. And I mean, as far as I remember, a majority of watchmakers died because they used to lick the tip when they were
painting.
Yeah, and a lot of them died. And they used to.
Yeah, that's how you sharpen a tip of a paintbrush: is you lick it. You put it between your tongue and you use the valley in the center of your tongue to sharpen the tip so you can get a nice, in calligraphy, they do it all the time, but they're only ingesting ink. Whereas radium is a radioactive isotope. It has an unstable electron. I think the half-life of radium is 16,000 years. It's extreme. It's a carcinogen. It will wear away bone. These poor women they're called the radium girls, very famous story. They were there working away, painting dials. And then all of a sudden start getting pains in their jaws. Their jaws started falling off their faces. And they started getting lung cancer, liver cancer, and so on.
Mm-hmm. You see, I must admit, I didn't know that. I knew of the ones that would lick the tip and they would die, but I didn't know how they actually, that's awful. It's just...
Yeah, it's a famous story called The Radium Girls. They actually made a movie about it. And, people didn't know really about radioactive isotopes. I keep hearing about tritium. Because so many watches have. I have a couple of watches with tritium. This 1988 Speedy. I've got the gold sub has tritium on the dial, and you see the little T, the Swiss T. Now, to me, it's ridiculous because first of all, the half-life is 12 years of tritium. The unstable electron, I think, bounces about 0.5 millimeter at best, because that's the problem. They jump out of the atom, right? So they pop out. Now, if you have plutonium, right, the strongest one of all, like the big killer, that thing can, from across the room, you walk past it and you start getting a headache, and then next thing you're in fucking hospital. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's plutonium. That's a whole different thing. Or strontium or cesium or one of those very, very strong ones. Tritium is not a dangerous radioactive isotope. You would have to take off the crystal and literally stick the dial in your mouth. And even at that, it's not dangerous. But it will fade because it's got a half-life. What's that definition of a half-life for anybody? Is the time it takes for half of the isotope to dissipate. The reason why they measure it in half-life is because it never truly fully dissipates. So they just measure it in halves because it's half gone. Now they divide the rest, that next half in half, and so on and so on. It'll always still be there in trace forms. That's why they measure it, just for anybody who's curious.
It reminds me of the story about some French companies adding antifreeze to their wine. I don't know why. It just came in my head.
Well, I mean, obviously the move over to chromalite and to regular luminova and super luminova was clearly a breakthrough because it's going to last a lot longer. It's not dangerous in large amounts, and it's more solid. Honestly, what happens with tritium is they add it to a paste. It's not just pure tritium, they add it to an actual paste, and the paste holds it, and that's the paste that really lights up. The tritium stimulates it, but the paste is what lights up. But for me, it's an interesting thing. Like I've got that Grand Seiko, and it's got that Zaratsu polishing, right? Beautiful. And it's on the dial too. And the polishing is so beautiful and so perfect. It catches light all around. It doesn't need lume. It has no lume in that watch. And it does not need lume in any way.
I've seen that, the way they refinish, and it's amazing how they do it, isn't it? It's
no, how do they? I have no idea how they do it. How do they? What does it mean? What is Zaratsu polishing?
No, I mean the polish. I've seen the actual what it looks like. Is it in terms of what the outcome? It's just weird looking.
It looks a little different to regular polishing. Let me go ahead here. There you go. I mean, look at the detail on the polishing. Great movement in this. This thing just catches all the light in the room, even if it's low light. How about that for a sweep, Alex? You dig that?
Yeah, no, it is a sweep, and the hands. I will say, I've always noticed on the Grand Seiko, the way they finish the hands is astonishing, but yes. I just can't get excited over it
because it's a quartz watch, essentially.
No, because I always find it difficult when a company, Seiko are extremely accurate and reliable and affordable, but then they went to Grand Seiko, and is it Credo? I think Credo was part Seiko as well. Uh-huh. And they've now now the price of the watches are not cheap. They're going from low to high. I can't get that out of my head.
What, that the prices went up?
No, but it's just that when I hear whenever a lot of people hear Seiko, they don't think of like luxury, but I know that's not true. I know that's not true.
It isn't. Yeah, it is not true. They're actually amazing watches. And certainly with the Grand Seiko level of things, they would be luxury. I mean, this is a $6,000. This is a $6,000 watch. That's a lot more than most people want to pay on a watch.
I know,
and it's $6,000 because of the finishing, because of the accuracy, because of the attention to detail, the engineering.
I know, but I still maybe it's because of my past trauma of working at Seiko, and I had to do like 600 movement exchanges while I was doing my work experience there. And
that was regular Seiko, right? That was NH35.
That was regular Seiko, and I couldn't get. So I said to my tutors, right, next work experience I'm going to go somewhere the total opposite. And I got a book from Jaeger LeCoultre. Uh-huh. How do you pronounce it, Oshi? Jaeger LeCoultre. I got a book basically saying how they were opening up their store many years ago in Bond Street. So I made out that I wasn't well to go to my school of watchmaking. I took the day off, got the train down, went in, and I said, "Listen, I'm a WASTEP student. Is there any way I can do work experience?" And fortunately, the guy that was there, he took a liking to me, and I then ended up doing 4 or 5 weeks with Jaeger LeCoultre for my work experience. Yeah, I was very lucky. Leo Sweeney was the head watchmaker, and I got to see some amazing stuff in their workshop.
Leo Sweeney was an Irishman?
Yes, once again.
By the way, I've news for you on that. I was contacted by the lads at McGonigal.
Watches. One of the brothers.
One of the brothers.
Yeah. Listen.
So we're gonna be doing a video. We're gonna be doing a video in the west of Ireland with one of his watches.
That's
so
fantastic.
it's gonna be wonderful. It's gonna be great. Probably on Clare Island, which is where the O'Malley family began. That's where my family began many centuries ago in Clare Island. So I'm going to go back and kind of retrace family history and talk about watchmaking in Ireland.
Wow.
And I guess I'll go over and check out the workshop. And so that's just side news, but it's great because that's thanks to you actually, because you brought that to my attention. We spoke about it that evening, and then some other people reached out, and they made the connection, and it's thanks to you. So here you have in the we're gone off Lume now, but that's okay. This is the spring drive. You see, you have this is the spinning wheel in there that's creating the energy to power the quartz movement. Now, again, coming back to the Lume, you see the way all these parts, see the way they shine. I just noticed that everything on the dial glimmered and shines like almost like diamonds, right? It's almost like it looks like they're precious stones. It's got to be something to do with the finishing. And I think that that's more impressive than Lume. There's something a little childish about Lume. When I see certain watches, like the high level of watches, like the getting into the high level of Patek and, you know, FP Journe, Lange Zune, etc., it's like Lume would bring them down some way. Lume is kind of like a little bit silly for them. No? It's like, why would they put Lume on their watch? You know, it's a bit lowbrow for these guys putting Lume on their magnificent dials. Like, do McGonagall watches have any Lume? I doubt it.
Well, this is what I mean. I mean, does Roger Smith use Lume? I don't think Roger Smith sits there and thinks, "Oh, I've got to Lume my second hand, or minute hand, an hour hand." Right. Yeah, it's almost like that's why I've never really got excited about Lume. I mean, if you want to get excited about Lume, there's a company that actually they actually have Lume in capsules on their hands. I forgot the company name now, but begins with B. I forgot the name. It actually is like a capsule in the minute and hour hand, and it glows like crazy.
Well, I've noticed that as well. I was speaking to it was the Zero S guys actually about it, because their Lume is really nice, but it's not the strongest Lume I've ever seen. It's not the, you know, it doesn't last as long as maybe a Rolex or Seiko Lume I find to be really, really good too. And they're explaining how some Lume is painted on, and sometimes these indices are actual blocks of Lume. They're actual little blocks that are cut to the shape of Luminova. And they're stuck on the watch, and those will last much longer. Then, of course, you have sandwich dials that are just one big plate of Lume, and then the dial that goes over with cutouts of the numbers, as in like Panerai and so on, sandwich dials. Then you get really, really strong Lume. Now, the frogmen, of course, in the Italian military back in the war, during the war, they needed the Lume because they're going way under dirty water, and they need that thing to shine so they can read the time. So in time, they're attaching bombs to the underside of ships. So that's one of the few cases I can think of where the guy really needs the Lume.
Yeah.
Like, if he doesn't have the Lume, he's in trouble, you know?
Yeah, it's like me or my IWC that has its in-house movement. It's got 8-day power reserve. That's just me being lazy.
Right.
You know, I mean, okay, it's a movement.
You'll almost forget you have to wind the damn thing.
I don't ever wind it because I don't really need to. I mean, I still give it a wind just because that's just me. But do I really need 8-day power reserve? You know, I think I use that. I prefer that than have a Lume. Okay, the watch is a Lume because it's a big pilot, but I don't really see when it comes to luxury, is a Lume important? No, I don't really think it's that important. I mean, I can't see a Breguet. Oh, we must have the Lume, but it's...
Yeah, I can't see Breguet doing it either. I think Panerai get away with. There's their sandwich dial, by the way, up close, so you can see how it is. They're cut out there, and it's just, you know, a big lump of Lume, if you will, a big plate of loomed material underneath. That's why they call it the sandwich dial, because it's sandwiched together, the two parts. Yeah. And of course, Lume is a thing. It's a thing with Panerai watches, because it would have to be. It's like that's why the numbers are so goddamn big on a Panerai. It's because you're under the water, you're strapping a bomb to the underside of a ship and racing away just in time. You need to know exactly what time it is, and you can't make the mistake. So that's why these watches were so big, so easy to read, and heavily loomed. I'm not even sure if they used radium back in the early days. Perhaps somebody in the chat knows. Speaking of the chat, let me get to some super chats, because I know I'm dragging way behind here. Again, guys, when we hit the rapid fire questions, then you'll have your chance to ask all the questions you want, and you can hit me with super chats. Then it'll make it easier to get to your questions. Mr. Badgas 499 watches our engineering art, period. This is our tribe. Very good point. Tim Wright is in the house, $10. Thank you so much, Tim. Always the best. Rob Morrison is in the house. I actually do check my GMT often to see if UK friends are still up. We Skype a lot, then 2 clicks for France. I'm bad at math. Okay, man. I mean, at least he's getting the use out of it, right?
At least he's honest.
Yeah. I remember when I was first shopping for a Rolex in the AD here a few years back, and they were like, oh, well, maybe you should wait for a GMT because that's more, that'll suit you more because, you have connections overseas and you got your business. Like most people think I'll get the GMT because it's the Pepsi or it's the Batman and it's really hard to get in this big long wait list. I don't even thinking about where that's the watch that suits them more because of the GMT function, Jim Lassick, $9.99. Happy Friday. Mechanical watches are as right as gas and oil in a car. I don't know. Evening, chaps. Tried on a Luminor. Your fault. I'm sorry, man. It's just the way it is. I think there's a lot of people looking at Explorer 2s today as well.
Good.
I've no Lume on my DJ 41, my Datejust 41 white dial Roman numerals. That's the thing. Yeah, certain ones, it might sway you to buy one watch or another. You get it with the stick in the indices, then you've got the Lume. If you get it with the Romans, you do not have the Lume. Is the dial too busy? No. Do I miss Lume? No. Lume has its place, but not always. Glasgow's got no sun. We all know that, right? Nathaniel Hannon, the man. Neutrons, not electrons. Oh, thank you. Nathaniel knows more about chemistry than I do. And yes, tritium is dangerous, but it's in such small quantities on the dial that it's meaningless. Also, the distance, right? The unstable parts of it, they're not going to leap through. They're not going to get all the way to your skin or to your arm. Correct, Nathaniel? Am I wrong about that? I don't think they travel that far. I could be wrong. Radium does, as far as I know, especially if you lick the stuff all day long as a job. Deep Blue and Ball both use tritium tubes. Yet quite often they would have a little tube with the tritium gas in the tube.
That's the
and
company.
It will be mounted onto the indice in the same shape, which technically you could break open and poison someone with it, but it's just such trace amounts. I don't think it would ever do anyone any harm at all. Support the watch talk. Super chat now, says Tim Wright. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Tim. Jeremy Corral, $5. You're right, Oshin. Grand Seiko is the best. You see the Grand Seiko guys come out like, I woke that beast, didn't I? Oops. You got to be careful. By the way, you got me a lot of shit over Seiko last time.
Oh, did I?
Go, can't believe he doesn't like Seiko. And then I met with a guy, a supporter of the channel. He was actually here in Venice. Darko from Mono Zero. Mono Zero make these beautiful wooden thrones and tables and all sorts of stuff. And he's made me a couple of cigar ashtray things, beautiful, where you can put your whiskey and everything. Spectacular guy, lovely. And he had an amazing Seiko on. And I said to myself, if we're going to get Alex's Seiko, we have to get him this. I'll send you photos of it. It's really fucking cool. It's really nice. And I was like, how much? It's like $4,000. I was like, Alex will never go for it. He'll never go for $4,000 for a Seiko. It doesn't matter how cool it is. Never.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'll put
Brass pipe, $5. Great show, boys. Thank you. Thank you, man. Here's Nathaniel again. We have our resident physicist and, everything. Nathaniel kind of is an encyclopedia of most things. They do travel that far, but they're mostly stopped by the metal case back. Plus the output is small. Thank you. I don't know, again, it seems to me that Lume is a gimmick in most cases. It is nice sometimes when I wake up in the middle of the night, it's dark, and I have to reach for, now usually I get to my phone first, and the phone like knocks the head off me. It's so bright, to read the time. But if I do find my watch before I find my phone, it is cool to see that, to be able to read the time on the watch in the middle of the night.
It is, but I've never chose to buy a watch and think, oh, I must check the Lume. But I did when I was younger, when I had a James Bond Seamaster, because that was obviously a very well-lumed watch for its time. But I'd never gone for a watch. I mean, even my Submariner that I wear, I mean, I have used the UV light over it only because I was bored. But I wasn't
right.
I wasn't like, oh, UV. Oh, this is exciting me. It doesn't get to that.
Well, you know that your watch, your two-tone subby there, when that thing is freshly lumed, the contrast of the blue and the gold and the black is something to behold. You're aware of that, man. I mean, it's a stunner. The Rolex Lume, the Chromolite, is absolutely magnificent.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to talk about that, what watch have you seen that's really kind of hit you hard of its beauty and its, what watch would you say?
Lume, do you mean?
No, just the fascination of looking at it and trying it on and thinking, wow, what
Jesus,
what watch?
Any watch I've ever bought. Any watch I've ever bought. Well, yeah, I mean, otherwise I wouldn't buy it. The watch has to grab me. It has to, knock my pants off when I see it. Now, this is freshly lumed, of course.
Yeah, that looks.
Looks pretty sexy, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it looks really nice.
There's a shot here at the very end. Now I have my UV light on that. If you notice, the dial is a little blue as well. That's because I have a UV light about a meter away. It catches it from a meter away, believe it or not. If I put it too close, it makes the whole watch go blue. It looks horrible. But from far away, now I turn it off. Watch, I turn off the UV light, boom. That's how it normally looks. It's being illuminated from that little UV little guy I carry around in my pocket, tiny little thing. You see there, I'm turning it on, look, and then it comes off right now. That's how the watch looks normally. Yeah. I don't know. Again, it sells watches, man. It just does. When people see Lume shots, they go, oh my God, I want that watch. It's just something about it. It lights up your eyes. It just does for most guys, especially the guys who are really, it's a fella's thing, a guy thing, as we've already said. It's for boys, Aaron K. Wishing, would you be concerned or think twice about owning a watch with radium? I would. I mean, with the half-life it has, it's not going anywhere. I mean, I'd be less concerned with tritium because now, it's been 25, 30 years since they've been using that stuff. So now it's dissipated. Now it's down to less than a quarter of its intensity, of its power. Radium, that's sticking around a lot longer than I'll ever be here, or most of us will ever be here. So I would think twice about having a watch with radium on it. Perhaps I'm being unreasonable there. Michael Ford, $15. Thanks so much, man. Very generous. Alex, I have a Speedmaster 3311.10 automatic 18 karat gold. Chronograph. Is this movement okay? Last month in the chat, a negative regarding 1960s movement. I love this watch and bracelet. You familiar with that watch?
Can we pull it up?
I'll pull it up for you right now.
If you don't mind.
Yeah. 3311, did he say?
Yeah, 3311 and 10.
0. Yeah, let's take a look. I think somebody brought up one of these watches. This is one of the reduced speedies. It's a reduced speedy. So does that mean it has two movements? It has the Dupuis Duprat,
the bolt-on,
or whatever,
the piggyback movement. Once again, if that is it, if you pull it up and it is that, I'll explain.
It's coming up to you now.
If I'm not mistaken, that has a plexiglass on it as well. That's a plexiglass, isn't it? Or is it the sapphire?
I'm not sure. Oh, yes. I think, yeah, the original Reduce had plexi. Yeah.
So wait a minute. No, that's a 7750 because it's 12, 6, and 9 on the dial. Now,
Okay.
yeah, so that's a 7750 in that. Sure, it is. Can you put in movement after you put the Speedmaster in? Because I'm sure it's
Certainly. They fit a 7750 into these things?
No. It's shown as a bolt-on. Shown as a bolt-on on that particular one.
Movements. Here we go. I actually quite like the reduced watches if you don't have the wrist.
Wait
for
a
these
minute.
things.
This is reduced, isn't it?
Yes.
So reduced will be a 2892 bolt-on. Yeah. Do you know what's really annoying about these watches? The crown is solid 18 carat. It's bloody expensive to buy.
Yeah, because the crown and the pushers.
The crown is like gold, proper gold on. I'm sure it's proper gold on that model because I'm sure I was like amazed how much it was when I inquired for how much a crown was. But yeah, so if it's the 2892 bolt-on movement, it's very important that you take it to somebody that's experienced on that movement. Very, very important. If you don't have anybody, then send it to Omega. But I will say now that Omega have just put their service prices up, and it's not cheap.
When you say bolt-on, what do you mean?
Yeah. It's the 2892 bolt-on mechanism, the Poids de Pré.
Okay. Bolt-on is a name, or it's been bolted on? Sorry.
It's because basically, on the 7750, it's a complete movement, and you can't split it in half.
Right.
On the Poids de Pré 2892, on the 2892, it has the chronograph that can be separated. So it's actually two.
So it's bolted on. Is that what you mean when you say bolt on? Sorry, I'm a stupid idiot.
Yeah, you can bolt on. It's basically so the chronograph module, and you've got the 2892, and they basically come together. And usually it's the module that fails. Well, it can also be the 2892 that can fail, but it's important that both are working in harmony.
Right,
because you can have issues,
and that's the reason why these watches these pushers are higher than the crown, correct? Because the chronograph, if I'm not mistaken, is on top of the other movement.
Yeah, so you
engage, whereas with a regular speedy, these are all in line. Whereas with these ones, these are elevated above. They kind of make a smile, if you will, they go from high to low to high, because these are addressing one movement and this is addressing the separate movement, correct?
Yes, exactly. And it's important that if you are wanting to buy this piece, that it's not been messed around with before. I would advise you not to buy the watch, but if you are in love with the watch, then make sure that either somebody that's experienced and has access to parts, or that's Omega accredited, or Omega themselves.
Yes,
it's really important that I get a lot of these in, but sometimes it can be quite tricky because if they've been messed around with before, there's a lot of damage that you have to rectify, and it can become expensive.
Yeah, well, that's the thing I've always heard about the reduced, is that they're a bit of a pain in the ass for the watchmaker to repair, because there's so many parts. It's kind of extra delicate because it's not one movement, it's two. Of course, they get to boast that the things have like 50 joules or something, because you're adding the joules between one movement and the other. So you get to say it's got like 48 joules, but it's a little deceiving.
It's not my favorite chronograph piece. I mean, however, I do like it in the Monaco. I do like the Tag Heuer Monaco. I do like it in that. So
I thought the Monaco had the 7750. Am I wrong?
No, the Monaco,
the Heuer Monaco, the old one.
No, the old one was a manual wine, but on the re-editions, it was the bolt-on.
Very cool, very interesting. I'm still kind of a fan of those. Let me hit those super chats, and then we'll get to rapid fire questions, guys. Hold off on your super chats for a second, and we'll hit the rapid fire questions, because we're over the hour now already. Graham Orr, $5. What do you think of the two-tone yellow gold Sky Dweller with black dial on a Jubilee brace? I'll come back to that for rapid fire if you don't mind, Graham. It's more of a rapid fire kind of question. Why don't I just get straight to that and treat these super chats as rapid fire? As always, guys, this is the rapid fire coming up. If you have questions, keep them short, concise. Try not to make 2 or 3 questions, slide them into one question. Just give us one and straightforward, and we'll give you the quickest answer we can. That way we'll get through as many questions as possible. Starting with Graham R, $5. What do you think of the two-tone yellow gold Sky Dweller with black dial on a Jubilee bracelet? I think it's nice. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. What do you think?
No, I like it. I like it a lot. If it's at RRP, yeah, definitely a great watch. Yeah, I actually do like that piece.
Mark Shaw, $5. In my prior life, I loved using deep blue watches during night surveillance. Much more legible. Okay. Jose Graciano Hernandez, $5. Seiko and Grand Seiko should have different names like Lexus and Toyota. I know it's the word Seiko that turns people off. I know. I'm past that. Honestly, it doesn't bother me in any way. But then again, I like Seiko anyway, just the regular Seiko. I'm a big fan of theirs. Orbitan, $9.99. Support the show. Another Grand Seiko fan here. Okay. They've all come out, man, from the woodwork. Woof. MC. Hi, gents. Couldn't super chat on SWAT. Okay. Question. I'm looking at a Patek 5168 gold. How delicate is the case movement versus a Rolex sub or Explorer? Can it take a beating? Servicing intervals, etc. Versus why are you laughing? He wants to beat up his gold Patek. Just let him. Just let him. Send us photos of your beaten up gold Patek.
Do we need to answer that? I mean, you can't mistreat a Patek. You can mistreat a Rolex, i.e., a Submariner, as in wear it, for
maybe really rich. Maybe it doesn't make any difference to him. Some people are so wealthy they don't care. What about RMs? People go out and play tennis with fucking RMs on their wrist.
Well, that's just ridiculous.
The Nadal is made,
but they don't tell you what happens after the watch when they play golf and smashing Formula One cars. They don't tell you up. Anyway.
Good point. Yeah, we never see what was the fate of the movement after that. All we know is the color of the watch he was wearing.
Rolex, you can be rough and ready. Patek, you have to kiss and caress. That's basically the truth.
I like that. Rough and ready versus kiss and caress. You heard it here first, guys. Carolyn Martin, $2. Panda Daytona, hype or worth it?
Hype. It's not worth it. No. Get the Zenith. Get the Zenith Chronomaster.
The Chronomaster is a better watch.
Better watch. Better. Don't.
I would amend that slightly. We can disagree slightly, myself and yourself, Alex. I would say that worth is a weird word to use in the watch world. None of them are worth it. They're just, you love it or you don't. Also, worth is how much a person is willing to pay. If you buy it for 20 grand today and you sell it for 20 grand tomorrow, it's still worth 20 grand. So it doesn't really matter whether you thought it was worth it or not. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Okay. No, but this. We could talk about this. We could talk about that for an hour or so.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Our hype watch is worth it. Maybe we'll do that next week. Richard Paulet, €6. Vacheron Constantin 4500 black dial. Better than Rolex or a hype?
I actually like that dial. I like that dial.
Mm-hmm.
I like that dial. Vacheron is more of a watch that you must love to own. But then again, I did see a VC Blue Dial Royal Oak that was... Sorry, a Vacheron Constantine, not a Royal Oak. That's an AP.
Overseas
that someone showed me. And it was a highly limited edition Blue Dial. And I was mesmerized. I really
here's one that's going to drive him nuts. SJ Paul, how to loosen super tight ceramic Submariner bracelet screws.
You just heat up. But be careful how much you heat it up by. But actually, you don't have to be careful, but you don't. No, you just heat it up. And then you use a non-damaged screw blade and put plastic over the screw blade and just keep trying. Don't.
How do you heat it up?
Well, that's the thing. You need a heater, but how many people have a heater like I do?
Sit next to your fireplace.
No, listen. Just you need to take it to a watchmaker. Don't be doing it yourself, because I guarantee you will mark the screws, and then you're not going to sleep at night, and your wife's going to fall out with you.
Amaru 249. Alex, is it easy to service a 3185 Rolex GMT movement?
Is it easy in the fact of a watchmaker doing it, or the easy in fact of somebody doing it themselves?
I'm assuming he says service, so I assume service implies that it's a real watchmaker.
Yeah.
So is it easy for you?
Oh yeah, it's something that I very, very much enjoy working on, and they are pretty easy. But you've got to make sure of that spring for the GMT hand, because they can snap. So you've got to upgrade it. You got to upgrade that spring. There's a spring that can snap when you pull out and to do the GMT. You got to either upgrade it or change it, because a lot of they tend to snap, they tend to break.
Okay, interesting. Julum Revest. Sorry if I'm butchering your name, my friend. Alex, what is your take on coaxial? So he's talking about the George Daniels coaxial,
fantastic.
right?
Fantastic movement. It's been from the beginning. They had issues, but now we're living in the coaxial best moment, because it's a fantastic escapement, and especially in the newer movements, it's a brilliant escapement. The coaxial.
LA Met says use a blowtorch to heat your.
Watch the steel turn to different colors.
Aaron is asking when we'll see Lange on the channel. Listen, whenever I'm lucky enough to own or be loaned a Lange, I'll show it to you guys. But I don't. Is that your favorite?
My favorite.
Above the Trinity, above Patek.
When I first saw a Lange watch, it was bittersweet for me, because every watch I look at now, I compare it to a Lange. A Lange is one of the most. Lange for me reminds me of firearms, shotguns, with the way they finish, the way they do the detailing. It's the engraving. It's just most beautiful thing. Beautiful Lange song.
Wow. Okay. Ephraim Assad. State of the watch collection soon. Maybe. Yeah, I might do that. Actually, thanks for reminding me. Also, do you still have your vintage Speedy? Yes. Not seen it on your wrist in a while. Of course, that's a wonderful piece. I also just got a broad arrow Speedy, which is really, really nice. Yeah, I'll do a state of the watch collection soon. My collection has actually changed since the last time I did any of those videos. Next question, Ray McKinney. When are you gonna get a girlfriend? Oh, I'm on a diet right now, guys. I'm on a fucking diet. None of that shit for me for now. Let me get myself in bloody trouble. Any more questions here? Rapid fire questions, guys. Let's go. Leon Cardozo. Where does the Explorer 2 rank in your watch collection? Well, pretty damn high. If you saw my video yesterday, I kind of consider it the last traces of the original Rolex business model. Honestly, I think that they're kind of a victim of their own success, and things have gone a little out of hand, a little bit crazy. These rainbow Daytonas, I think, are just a little bit wild, a bit too much for me, and they've lost some of their original spirit. So this watch represents, even though it's not the original 40 mil and so on, it still represents great solid Rolex for all the right reasons. Louise Maggs, when are you going to get a Casio? Do you have a Casio? No. I have a couple of G-Shocks.
I used to have a Casio. I had the one where you change the TV channel. I got in trouble at school when I was a kid. We used to rewind the video player and then switch the TV off. And the lady, the teacher, she actually took weeks off work because of stress. So I kind of feel bad for that.
Uncle Jonga, GMT Master 2 or Sky Dweller? I would say for my wrist, the Sky Dweller. But I do think the GMT Master 2 is a classic. Alex?
Sky Dweller for me. Sky Dweller. It's just amazing, the movement. I love a Sky Dweller. The Blue Dial Sky Dweller, but that's because of what it's worth. But
sure. Patrick Sarsfield, what is the best watch to buy at the moment for €10,000? I would say if you don't already have one, a Rolex Submariner. It's just the classic.
Non-date sub. Non-date sub.
Non-date sub. Even
Buy
better.
as many as you can. Non-date pre-ceramics. I keep telling people this. Buy as many as you can. Papers or no papers. Obviously check, lost and stolen, but buy as many as you can.
I see. Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, the no date sub is just a legendary watch. Even the new ones. New Cartier Tank. Oh, good movement or not? You were talking about the Pelagon or not the Santos last week. You were saying that the movement, people are returning them, correct? Ivan Morales is wondering about the new Cartier Tank, which is, they've kind of changed the form of it. The franchise, at least, they changed the form. It's a bit more industrial looking. As if the tank wasn't already industrial looking enough. They've kind of planed it out a little bit, made it a bit more masculine. Are you familiar with the movement they have in there?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
And?
Yeah. If it's the one that I'm thinking of, I would. It's a beautiful watch exterior wise, but movement wise, it's just disappointing. Extremely disappointing.
Derek, I do believe that is the one that Alex is referring to.
Yes.
The 14060. That, of course, comes in the M variant as well, which is a classic too. Beautiful, stunning. Perfect watches. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
William Rizzo, Valjoux 7753 with a date pusher. Do I need to set the date with the crown pulled out?
With the date pusher? As in the date on the side? Yes, it's the date pusher. It's on the side.
Yeah.
You push in to change the date, don't you?
Yes. Does he need to do that with the crown pulled out?
No. You just need no. Don't do it with the crown out. But when you push it in, don't force it in, because you just push it, and if it changes, then you're in the right time zone. If that makes sense, just don't force it in. Don't forget, if you have a 7750 and you try and change the date between 9 p.m. to 2 a.m., you want the hour hand to be below, because you can actually cause an issue with the date to then change after 12. You can actually move a wheel. You can actually damage the movement, which will then void your warranty if it's from new or if it's been recently serviced.
Well, that's the golden rule, isn't it? Always change the date. Or with most watches, it's safer to have the hands at the bottom half of the hour, right down at 6:30 or somewhere down there.
It's more of like a 7/7. It's more like the ETA 7/7s. This is the sort of movement that you have to be careful where you change the hour hand. You don't want to change it in the PM from 9 p.m., 10 p.m. to 2, 3. You always got to have the hour hand
down at the lowest.
Yeah, just to be safe. Yeah, because a lot of people then wonder why their date changes. Instead of 12, it changes at 2 or 3 because they've actually moved the wheel out of sync.
Oh, that's the reason why. I never knew.
Yeah, that can be the reason why on the 7/7, on the ETA 7750. Yeah, it can be the reason why, but not always necessarily on other movements, because sometimes when watchmakers service the watch, they don't align the hands at 12. They get a bit lazy.
Right.
So whenever a 3135 comes to me, I always check the date change. I want to know if it's bang on or not.
Julio Arosemena. Between the Sea Dweller 43 and the Submariner two-tone, I assume you're talking about the two-tone Sea Dweller 43 and the sub two-tone, right? Well, you're definitely talking about the sub two-tone. Between those two, it depends on your wrist size, I would say. The Sea Dweller is quite a chunky monkey.
Oh, I'd have the Sea Dweller all day.
Yeah, big, heavy statement piece.
I kind of wish I didn't get the Sea Dweller in mind, to be honest now.
Really?
I don't know. I'm like... Yeah, no, I should be happy with what I bought. I'm not going to start piss-flying around. No, don't be like that.
Patrick Sarsfield, the question for Alex. What is the easiest watch to work on?
Oh, Rolex for me. The automatic calibers are beautiful to work on.
31, 35?
Yeah. They're just really nice to work on, yeah. ETA 2892 as well, 2824s, 31s, nice. 7750s are nice as long as they've not been butchered. Yeah. Then it's the cut. One of the hardest is the ETA 2000. Oh man, just be yeah, it's not a great move.
LV wants to know, can you run a modern Daytona secondhand non-stop?
Well, yeah, of course you can. You can leave your kitchen tap on all night if you want, but what are you going to get out of it? You know?
I think what they want to do is they want to see it like a seconds hand because they
But
miss that movement of the
but
seconds hand.
why? But why though? It doesn't make any sense.
Because we're all
What are you
sick in the
measuring?
head. Because we're all
What
sick in the head. That's why.
what are you measuring for your seconds? It's the subsidiary seconds that you should be looking at.
But if you can see them, they're quite small. I'm defending
Yeah, but
LV.
yeah, okay, but what are you needing to see the seconds for? Because you're not even put the seconds on anything. What do you need to see it for?
Sometimes what I would do is synchronize the two. So you get
Oh
this.
my god!
See that?
Yeah. Oshin, we need to
Terrible.
talk. Yeah, I don't know what you're doing.
Anders, he's thinking about buying a Rolex Submariner 5513, a classic from around 1988. Just make sure it's all original. Right?
Okay, well, that's something that he probably best. Yeah, yeah. I mean, how long have we got on this question? That's something he really, really needs to be very, very, very careful of. Very careful of.
Why?
Is he based? Is he based in the UK?
Replaced hands.
Oh yeah. He needs to be very careful. Who is he based in the UK?
I have no idea. His name is Anders. Could be anywhere. It could be in. He could be in Vienna. It could be anywhere. It could be up in Scandinavia.
He needs Denmark. He needs to speak to the people like Mike Wood or Haywood Milton if he's really serious and he's going to take action to buy a 5513. You don't be buying it. Yeah, you need. Yes, you have to be very, very careful, Oshin, with that particular model of Submariner.
And again, just to clarify, you're referring to the fact that it may have had hands in it, people pulling out original parts or replacing original parts.
Yes, yeah. It's a minefield when you start going to the 5513 because one person may say it's right, one person may say it's not. Rolex might agree. Yeah, this is something where you don't need, and also you can't scrape and scrimp on the money side. Do you know what I mean? You don't be looking for a bargain because you're gonna get
something that with a certain detail that's wrong.
You'll get bitch slapped, yeah.
Right. Benzo. New video is amazing. Well done. Thank you so much, Benzo. A lot of work went into it. Thank you, man. Much appreciated. Mr. Badgas, how long does it take to properly regulate a 7750 chronograph?
After you serviced it, the regulation doesn't take long. You can't regulate a 7750 in terms of it will need servicing. There's a lot of people that think you can regulate a watch and everything's going to be fine. Usually you'll find that the watch needs a service, if that makes sense. You can't just regulate it. It's going to be okay. It doesn't really work like that.
Here's a good one from a guy who clearly has OCD like I do. His 2022 date the date changes at 6 minutes past 12. Is this normal? So I believe the parameters of Rolex. Well, yes, 2022, so it's brand new. So I believe, from what I understand, I heard once that it's acceptable within I think it's acceptable up to 4 or 5 minutes past the hour. I might be wrong, but I think I had an issue with a Rolex years ago about this, precise thing.
I need to speak to one of the Rolex accredited watchmakers, but I try and do it 2 minutes to and 1 minute past.
Okay, that's nice.
I try to.
Man, when you're looking at your brand new watch and it gets to 12 midnight and you happen to remember to take a look at it, or that lovely surprise when you're sitting like this, your watch is quite near your ear, or you're fixing your hair like I constantly do because I'm self-conscious about my stupid rug on the top of my head, and you hear that changeover and you're like, oh, and then you look and it's exactly 12. You're like, ooh.
Especially on the day, yeah. When they both bang on.
Yeah, beautiful. It's a thing of beauty. Mind you, I got a date sub from the AD about 3 years ago, and the damn thing would change at 7 minutes 30 past 12 every time. Now, the funny thing is, I brought it back to the AD and I was like, listen, I know this makes no difference, and I know I'm just going to piss you off, but for the money I paid, I'd like to see the fucking thing change at least closer to 12. Don't you think so? And they're like, sure. And then they manually would wind it past 12. And once it got to 12 manually while they were doing it, it would change. It would only change at 7 minutes past if you just let it naturally just go through the motions. Thoughts?
That's not that's not true, but I'm not gonna
It's not true. This is what I
No,
saw. They were like, "You're
no.
crazy. You're mad.
No,
It keeps changing."
no, you can't adjust.
It was a dream I had. It was just a dream.
It was a dream. It was just a dream. No, but you can't. You have to literally take the minute hand off to read. You can't. I wish it was like that, Ocean, because I'll be. I wish it was like that.
I'm sorry, man. Let me know how much I owe you for that. Raven Kingy again. Sorry for messing your name up, dude. Would you wear a 36 mil on your man wrist? I would not. I've tried. It looks like a joke. It looks like a button. Mind you, there is a video of an OP, lovely OP that I made, God, 2 years or more ago now. And it looks all right. Again, I'll say it to you guys. When you look at the watch from your angle, from your eyes to your wrist, it looks bigger than the way the watch looks to people looking at you. It's a different point of view aspect for some reason. But no, I would normally avoid a 36. It just doesn't look right. I mean, even 40s look kind of small on me, to be honest. So I'm sure you're in the same boat, Alex, with the big arms on you.
Yeah, I like big watches, like my big pilots.
Oh yeah, that one. I love your big pilot. That looks great on you. David Entwistle, no relation to John Entwistle, I assume. Is the not adjusting day date between 9-3 thing a thing, or just something that came out of nowhere? Well, no, we just answered that. It's a thing. You can't adjust, or you should not adjust the date between 9 and 3 o'clock on the top half of the dial.
On a 7750 for sure, yeah. Just got to be careful.
Are there any new movements that it doesn't matter at all?
Well, I mean, on the Rolex movements, I've never had an issue. Never really had an issue with date changes. But it's more of the 7750 that's. Well, I've seen it on the Hublots. I've seen it on the tags. Omegas, that's which actually houses the 7750.
Okay. And Cool Hand Luke, was she smoking a Siglo 6? Beautiful, man. Enjoying a bottle of Gigonda 202. Very nice. Gigonda is that Grenache? I think that's Grenache grape. Enjoying the vibe from Ireland. Good man. How's the weather over there, my friend? I got to get over to Ireland soon and do this episode with McGonagall watches. I'm looking forward to it. Wow. Anders, by the way, is in Norway. So
okay,
you know anyone in Norway?
No, I don't. But it's worth him traveling and finding somebody. Honestly, because that is really important. Vintage watches like the Rolex 5513. It's just because I've had horror stories happen to me, and I've known people where have been, you just got to be careful.
Sam D is asking, are high accuracy quartz watches hard to service?
No, I don't really get that many in. I prefer doing more mechanical based, to be honest. I don't get a huge amount of quartz watches in, and the ones I do are not really. They're just what you normally would see, like Tag Heuer quartz, Omega quartz. I don't service 80s quartz Omegas because parts are obsolete. I don't do the Boulevers because there's a certain wheel that has like 800 teeth that no longer is production. It can be a nightmare.
Julio's asking, how often should I take my Panerai to service? It's a PAM 321, PAM 389.
Every 3 to 4 years, I would say.
And here's a similar question. Sean Lynn, $5. Thanks so much, Sean. Last week you spoke about water resistance. How often to have this checked? When would you start? When 6 months old, 1 year, 2 years?
6 months is probably a bit too much. Probably like every year. Every year, I think is fair to say.
Check it for water resistance?
Yeah, every year. Yeah, every year. 6 months is all right, but I just think, I think every year depends on how old the watch is as well. This is the other thing. Depends on how old the watch is, and also if it's a vintage watch, who's to say that the middle case is still okay? or if it's a
Right.
plexiglass one. This
Yeah.
it doesn't. Do you know what I mean, Oshin?
Depending on what it's been through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's we can talk about that on a different show if you want. We can.
Sure. Sure, we'll hit these certain subjects next week. Here's an interesting one about magnetism. Ben had a JLC 899-1 that started running about 8 seconds slow after 11 and a half. Okay. What do you mean 11.2? What does he mean by that? Could it have been magnetism? I would say no, because magnetism normally shows up in a racing mood. The movement starts racing ahead of time as the oscillation closes up due to the magnetism. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, look, I guarantee
like a slow watch usually isn't a magnetized watch, no?
So the hairspring gets bunched up, due to magnetism. That's usually the issue. Usually, it's not always, but usually the issue. But I guarantee that the watch hasn't been serviced. Something tells me. I bet he comes back and says that it hasn't been serviced. Or
like it's. I'm sure it varies a lot. But for me, the rule of thumb is usually if the watch is going too fast, it may be magnetized. If it's going too slow, it may just need a service and oiling. I'd be drying up in there or whatever. Yeah. Okay, and Timepiece Adventures is asking me, do I ever wear my 214270? No, because I got rid of it. I sold it. Too small on my wrist. An amazing watch, one of the best ever made, but just not for me. I'm steering toward larger watches these days. Guys, we are bringing this to a close. My Speedy World 249 thoughts on Zin technology, air dehumidifying cases. You have any thoughts on the Zin?
I think Zin are a great brand. You get value for money, and they do
for sure.
Some sort of case that doesn't really scratch that easy. I remember going to the show and trying to scratch the case.
Yeah,
but I don't know about the air dehumidifying cases. I'm not aware of that.
I'm aware of the one that has oil inside it.
Yes,
bring it down to all sorts of depths, and it's really there's no refraction or anything, or there is refraction on the dial, so that way the dial looks like it's just kind of flat.
It's freaky.
Yeah, it's freaky looking. Yeah, and the prices of them, they're only like $2,000 or $2,500. It's amazing the technology they put into the watches. We have to bring it to an end, guys, because I normally do Who Needs a Drink on a Friday, and I know a lot of you are drinking and smoking. That's why you're telling me what you're drinking and smoking. I am going to continue on. If Alex wants to hang around, by all means, I'm just going to pop open a little wine, maybe have a glass or two. I'm not going to stay on all night. I'll hang on another 20 minutes with you guys. But for the sake of consistency with the show and the podcast, I'm going to bring Serious Watch Talk to a close. I'm even going to run our outro music. But if you want to hang around with me for another 25 minutes, guys, you are free to do so. Just hang around till after the music. Thank you, Alex, as always. Dude, I learn more than anybody at this stuff. It's fascinating, wonderful information. Thanks for letting us pick your brain for an hour and a half. I will see you next
Take care.
week.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you.
Amazing stuff, man. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
I'm going to pop open a little red here. Chateau Larocque, Saint-Emilion Grand Cru. It's hard to find French wine in this country. Well, it's not hard. It's a lot easier to find their own wine. How's your eye, man? Is it puffing up?
Yeah, it's puffing up. We're still live, aren't we?
Yeah, we're still live, bro.
Yeah,
They're all
yeah,
watching
it's
us.
popping up. Yeah, just I can feel the glands coming here. It's need to sort it out. But yeah, I'm okay, okay. Um, my,
That's what you want to see. Look at that. Oh, it's a
is that
beautiful.
what you want to see?
You want to see the red because what that means. Look at that beautiful color at the end.
Ah, okay.
What that means is that the wine has been sitting on its side against
Yeah.
the cork, and the
Ah,
reason why you want the wine to keep the cork moist is because the cork, when it's moist, it expands and seals the wine. You don't have any oxidation. Now, sometimes you open a wine and there's a lot of red all around here. Then what you want to do is go looking for any lines that are going all the way up to the top. If you see a red line of wine going all the way to the other side, this is the top side, then
yeah.
you have oxidation. The wine's going to smell like shit.
You ever heard of Glenville whiskey?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, one of a very very good client of mine and friend of mine sent me three bottles. It's really
Oh,
nice.
nice.
Yeah, it's
3.
3 bottles. Yeah.
Jesus. What you do to
Yeah.
deserve that?
Oh, I'd have to kill you, actually.
To save his life or something?
Maybe.
Saved his watch?
Saved his watch collection.
Oh, that's nice, man. Are you into whiskey? Are you a whiskey drinker?
I used to be, but I kind of stopped because I used to not enjoy it too much, but I just found it a bit too hard, a bit too much of a hard drink. I don't know. So
Yeah.
now I've kind of gone the opposite, and I enjoy an espresso martini because I love espresso coffees, and the fact it's just nice. It's just a nice, relaxing drink.
Well, espresso martinis have vodka in them. They're
Yeah.
anything but relaxing. They're giving you a sharp jolt of caffeine, and the cocaine of alcohol is vodka, famously. So that's probably why you come on with such sharp
Yeah,
attention to detail.
You sussed me out.
I mean, espresso martini it's the wake up drink. I mean, you're just short of having a Red Bull at that point. Just to correct you, I know this is grammar Nazi asshole. It's espresso.
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 A lot of people say espresso, like it's an express train. Espresso.
Grazie mille. Espresso.
Listen, on a slightly serious note, the tragedy in Greece with the trains.
Yeah.
Horrific stuff. You still have a lot of family over there in Greece, do you?
Well, it's in Cyprus. My family's in Cyprus. Yeah. Family, about 95% of my family's in Gibraltar, in Cyprus.
Oh, I see.
But also that earthquake in Turkey. There's a lady I know called Fulya who was telling me that they think there's going to be even a bigger earthquake in Turkey, even bigger. They're predicting. Jesus. I don't know how they know that, but apparently they're expecting, which is probably going to hit Greece, Turkey, and everywhere else. So
I was wondering if one of the reasons. By the way, anybody watching who noticed at the beginning of the episode that Alex wanted to talk about my video and how much he liked it, that was not a plug, but I did not prepare it. I didn't tell Alex to say that or anything. It was completely his decision. No. I just know a lot of the folks are like, Jesus, how much did he pay him to say all that?
No, I didn't know.
But, I thought of something later. I thought, why Alex likes the video? It's because Maria Callas is all over that goddamn video.
Maria Callas, beautiful. What an amazing woman she was, and her voice was beautiful.
Yeah,
interesting lady.
And her life ruined by her popularity, by her fame. I mean, just destroyed by fame.
Yeah.
Very private woman, and just followed everywhere, every single thing she did. And then there was all the infidelities and the men in her life, and so on. It's just horrific.
Yeah, just her music was unbelievable.
Well, of course, Cleopatra, Aida, and of course Tosca, the diva playing the diva, right? She was, a lot of people consider her still the quintessential Tosca, followed by the great Angela Gheorghiu, from Bucharest. And then, of course, now Aida, the famous and most beautiful, probably the most beautiful soprano in the history of sopranos. I mean, her face, just unbelievable, stunning beauty. Russian, Aida Garifolina. But anyway.
Garifolina, Aida Garifolina. And you said she's Russian?
She's Russian.
But that's not a Russian name, though.
No, it's not. It's not Greek, is it?
Garifolina. Well, Aida Garifolina. Well,
maybe she has an Italian father or something. It's kind of like southern Italy, right?
Garifolina sounds more Italian than Greek. Garifolina. Not Russian, though.
I know. She's a stunner. But yeah, Maria Callas, technically not the greatest. Technically, not the greatest opera singer or soprano of all time, but just her acting was incredible and her passion was incredible. And people were really drawn in. Whatever she lacked in her technical chops, she made up for in the passion. You really believed that she was Tosca when she sings the aria. And, that famous Vici d'amore is the famous aria in that, where she pleads with God. Why is he putting her through this terrible pain? It's one of the most beautiful pieces ever written. And people really believed it was her. Anybody with any questions, by the way? I know you're all watching us having a Friday night chat here.
She wasn't very lucky in love, was she?
No,
she wasn't. No.
I mean, she died of a broken heart, really, at the end of it. A very lonely woman in the end, and so on. That's why I kind of start in the video. I start with her as the first example. I mean, after I went in with, poor old Amy Winehouse and bloody Michael Jackson, you see him as a young, beautiful man, and then the freak he turns into. I actually had even more weird photos of that guy in the first edits, but they were just so off-putting, so jarring to see, like what he did to his face, and it was horrific. But then I end the video, of course, I have a little bit of a flashback at the end of the video with those moments, and then Maria is the last. You see her bowing. She's as Cleopatra. You see her bowing to the audience. And for me, that moment is like, it's like Rolex going, thank you. Like, we did such an incredible thing. Now we're all fat and lazy and we're fucking diamonds all over everything. And it's grotesque. But we started as an amazing thing, and we ruled the world, as a watch brand. That's the imagery I was looking for.
Yeah, we're talking about singers. I mean, like Amy Winehouse, I don't think she would have made that. I don't think she would have been such a fantastic songwriter if she didn't go through the traumatic stages of her life. It's like saying, I wish Mike Tyson was a nice guy, but he was an aggressor. He was aggressive in the ring. You can't just switch it off. Do you know what I mean? It's with Amy Winehouse. I don't believe that she would have made that sort of music if she wasn't hiding drugs in her hair, if she wasn't seeing that crazy guy, if she wasn't having drug binges. I can't see it.
You're absolutely right, because like, they try to make me go to rehab. And I said no. Now she came up with that because she's walking down the street with Mark Ronson. Mark Ronson, by the way, ambassador for Augment Piguet. And she was basically going, look, they want me to go to rehab. And I'm going, no, fucking no. And that's when she came out with that thing. She didn't want to go to rehab. And that, of course, was the song that broke her on the scene. So, but just, I think it puts a little perspective. Everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants to be a star. But be careful what you wish for,
Yeah. I don't respect her father.
Her father's horrible.
I don't like the man.
In one of the clips I had in the earlier edits, you could see him in a split second of it, because he shows up at the funeral and so on. And I said, I'm not putting that fucker in there. I'm not showing that guy's face. I don't like that guy at all. He just tried to, promote his daughter and ride on her coattails and so on so much. Her talent was just crazy. We actually played I'm not saying we played a gig with her. We played the Lollapalooza festival in 2007 in Chicago, and she was on One of the other stages. There's like 6 stages in it's a huge park with a lot of stages. But she was on. I saw her in her prime, before things started going downhill, and she was wonderful. And her band were amazing. It was such a great show. A lot of good memories of that stuff, but yeah, her demise then. And then Whitney was in there, Whitney Houston, of course, one of the great vocalists of all time. But anyway, what do you guys have to say for yourselves? Ronnie, Bona, Submariner, No Date, or Date, or Batman? I'd say No Date, Submariner. Yeah.
Yeah, No Date Sub, yeah. I don't know, the Batman's nice, but I don't know, it's just a bit, no, the No Date Sub,
No Date Sub's the real thing. Yeah. I still love my all black GMT. I have one of those that they discontinued a few years ago. The LN, the 116710 LN, still one of my favorite watches, and it looks like a sub or something, a sub date at first glance, but it's a bit shinier because of the PCLs. And I still love it. I've had the Batman. I've never had a Pepsi, but I tried on a Pepsi a couple of weeks ago in Vicenza, and man, I wasn't even that taken by it. They're kind of loud. I mean, that red and the blue, it's a bit loud. No?
It depends on the person wearing it. Do you know what I mean? It depends on how you come across, I think. Do you know? It's
right.
I don't know. Man, but then again, I was offered the blue, the bluesy, and I don't know. I said no, even though I wanted one. I just think it's too in your face. So I've kind of just contradicted what you said. So, but yeah, it's just contradicted what you said. Yeah,
you did it
for
in
me,
the nicest possible way, man.
The blues is a bit too in your face. It's such a beautiful watch, but it can be just my eye goes on it straight away. Probably because I'm in the industry like you are, but. Yeah. I don't know. It just goes. I just see it straight away.
Born to Lose 13 is this podcast about watches. It was. The podcast has now come to an end, my friend. Now we're just having a little chat, me and Alex. And if you want to hang out, feel free to. If you want to change the channel, feel free to, by all means. We stopped talking about watches just a few minutes ago. If you want to rewind, you'll see a solid hour and a half all about watches. Hans is saying that he tried on a blue dial Yachtmaster and that he fell in love with it. Did you try on the rhodium dial, Hans?
No, that's beautiful as well. Yeah.
The rhodium, the blue is beautiful, but the rhodium, for me, what's great about the rhodium is that the dial kind of reflects. It looks a little white, silver, and black depending on the angle. It's a bit like the ocean. It's a little bit like the ocean when you're out at sea, and it's all these reflections are happening, and the water looks silver sometimes because of the bright light shining off it. And then of course you have that blue hand and the blue writing. It's just more of a maritime look.
If we're going to go down the Yachtmaster route, I think the first Yachtmaster, the all gold Yachtmaster, the full size all gold Yachtmaster is it the Tahitian dial, which is like a mother of pearl dial?
Yes.
That
was the very first one.
That's one. That is, if you get one of those where the bracelet's not been mangled or it's not been over polished and the gold bezel is still nice, nice and detailed, that dial is you have to see it in person to really, really appreciate it. It's just stunning. No Tahitian dial is ever the same as mother of pearl. Yeah. Stone dials are never the same.
So you're getting a very unique piece.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Really, it's a stunning piece.
Thank you, Big Sal. That's very much appreciated. Glad you enjoyed it, man. Hans is thinking about it. He's ready to pull the trigger on a nice Yachtmaster. Listen, I love the Yachtmaster. I think it's a great watch. It's right on the cusp between sporty, utility, and then head turner, shiny. Right? It's just right between the two.
I think one of my all-time favorites is probably the one that you have, the pre-ceramic all-gold sub, and also the ceramic version of that. I don't know what it is, but it's like a fuck you. It's like a fuck off watch, isn't it? It's like
big hunk of gold.
Yeah, I've made it. I don't care.
I think the president is that for me. The president is also the fact that they don't make any president watches or the day date. They don't make them in anything but precious metal. So it really is kind of saying, no, listen, this ain't for sport. This ain't for anything. This is for walking into the room and everybody gets quiet because you walked into it's a fuck you watch. It's everybody shut up and listen to me watch.
Yeah.
Especially the olive dial with the rose gold one, the 40 mil with the olive dial, relatively new one. Oh my God, that thing is stunning.
Yeah, the 36 millimeter one, I had two, and then I restored one and I gave to my father.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and I had Megas Alexandros, the Macedonian shield engraved on the back, hand engraved on the back, and gave it to my father as a gift. It was a beautiful piece. Beautiful piece. My ego did it because I wanted to prove to myself that I could give such a beautiful piece to my father because he's gave so much to me in all the years. But it was me that pushed myself to do that rather than keep the watch myself.
What age is he?
He's in his 60s now.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have given my dad a nice watch. I never got to do that. He passed away when he's 58.
58, okay.
Yeah, he was quite young.
Yeah,
but and I was way too young to do anything like that. It would have been nice to. I mean, that's a beautiful thing that you gave your dad a watch. That's really, really, really nice. Normally, it's the other way around, right? Your dad hands you down his watch, but the other way around is very, very nice. I'm sure that's a very special piece to him. Well done.
Yeah, and I got my mum a Cartier Santos, and I had the bezel, the bezel done in diamonds. Just after set as well.
After set. Very nice, man. I mean, that's the way to do it. I got my daughter a Cartier, a Tank Francaise there. What was it, 2 years ago now? She loves it. It looks so good on her, But are you going to get your son a watch when he comes of age? What age is he? 3 or 4 or something?
He's 4 now, my son. He's 4. I've actually got a Swatch in the safe, like it's expensive, but I've got a Swatch watch that I bought, and I just bought it and just stuck it in the safe. I'd love him to get, to understand watchmaking and have it on the bench. And if he wants to go into watchmaking, yeah, that'd be great. But would I buy him a watch? Yeah. I'm already putting watches away for him, but I don't know. It's if he enjoys watches, I don't want to force him, but if he can see how watchmaking is at a young age, then fantastic. He's got the opportunity with myself.
Well, he's going to have the eye for it because he sees them all around the place, right?
Yeah. He loves watches. He always comments on my cap and also my watch. So.
Alex Moon is sipping on a Port Charlotte 10, smoking a Davidoff late hour. Paired perfectly with your conversation. Pick one, wine or watches. Pick one, wine or watches. Oh man, shit. Do I have to pick? I'd probably have to go with wine. I'm sorry. What are you guys drinking, by the way? Anybody drinking or smoking anything nice on a Friday night? End of the working week, guys. Anybody who came late, we did a Swatch show, 1.5 hours of solid watch chat and questions. But now we're just chilling for a few minutes before Alex heads home. I go make some late dinner.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got a lot of steak in the fridge. So usually I usually eat 2 or 3 steaks in one go.
That's because you're lifting. You're lifting a lot of weights, man. You got to put a lot of protein in there.
I want to push my carbs down because I've put on a bit of weight because I've not been to the gym. But I'm just pushing protein constantly and just carb intake is slightly low. But what I would suggest, I don't know if anyone's interested in, but I've noticed that if you wake up in the morning and have a large amount of water with salt and lemon juice,
yes,
and add a bit of creatine as well,
goes right through you.
No. No, it really gets me through the day. It's brilliant. You know, it's
My singer and my brother were both in my band, and my cousin and my brother, singer and guitarist. And years ago, they did this diet that was like the lemon juice diet. It was like squeeze lemons in water with vinegar and maple syrup. It's like some crazy thing. And you get up in the morning, you pound a pint of this crap. It was stinky. There's like you put in some kind of cayenne pepper or something in it, and it goes straight through. You have to have a certain proximity to a bathroom ready. It was some kind of crazy flushing out of your system. Do you ever do that shit?
No, no. I mean, I do it for electrolytes, to get me, it's great to have a large amount of fluids, especially water.
Yeah.
And then I will have a protein shake, and then I'll eat like 6, 7 eggs, scrambled eggs, maybe some salmon for breakfast. That's
High protein stuff. Omega-3s in the salmon.
yeah, yeah.
Grade A protein in the eggs.
Yeah, and then you've got the steak as well. And
yeah, man.
Obviously this will lift up your cholesterol, but having high cholesterol is not the be all and end all. This is where everyone talks about cholesterol, but it's not, honestly, it's not that bad.
Listen, when you're lifting like that, you can pretty much eat anything. I used to lift a lot back in my early 20s, late teens, early 20s. I was in the gym 6 days a week. I was obsessed. And I was a big boy. And it was, ox's heart and egg whites and protein powder and all that stuff. I pretty much never ate bread. I'm not a big fan of carbs. Just bread and pasta doesn't interest me, I'm in Italy. I don't even eat their goddamn pasta. Isn't that a shame?
Look, I mean, high carbs is not good. And it depends. It depends, because if you're going to the gym, if you have low carb, I mean, zero carbs, your muscles are flat. You do need carbs to build muscles as well. But it's about finding the right balance. You don't want to over carb, you don't want to overeat. It depends on what your goal is. Because I've hit 40 now, so I'm getting older. What am I going to the gym for? I'm going to the gym for health. I can't go for vanity anymore.
Right.
The vanity thing. I'm going for health, because as we get older, we get weaker.
Yes.
We get, as we get older, our joints are going to get weaker. So you just got to look after yourself.
I always get the same question about the pasta thing. People are saying, well, how come everyone in Italy is skinny? Because they are. They're very slender people. They're very skinny people. They're very good, very healthy diets. There's no effort on their part. That's just their natural diet. And they eat pasta probably most days. I always put it down to this. It's just been in their system. It's been in their blood for centuries. And that's why they can eat pasta. I eat pasta. I feel bloated, like I have a baby on my tummy for 3 days. I pass out of sleep first because I have like a carb rush or whatever. And I pass out, and then I have a bloated gut for I've probably got some sort of celiac issue or something like that.
I'm not laughing at. I'm sorry. I'm laughing at default, because macaroni di forno is basically a Greek dish, which is, if you translate, it's pasta. It's oven pasta, where it's made in the oven. It's a beautiful, beautiful Greek dish.
Is forno the oven? Because forno,
yeah,
because
same as Italian.
Yeah,
same Italian.
So that's macaroni. That's macaroni
macaroni
made in the oven.
Yeah, macaroni di forno, but it's handmade.
It sounds nicer in Greek. But
my mum makes it. My mum does afko lemoni, which is basically a soup with lemon and chicken. Is stunning. And she also makes the most beautiful ice cream sorbet, which is triandafilo, which is like a rose water.
Can you hear the bell? Can you hear the bell?
Oh, I can hear it. Yeah. I can hear that.
That's St. Mark's bell. Every midnight. Isn't that lovely?
That's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Stunning.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I'll let you go home. Thanks for the chat.
Yeah. No.
Great show. Good stuff. And I'll see you next week, man.
Okay. Take care, guys.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Thanks for hanging out. And oh yeah, people can hear the bell. You want to hear the bell a little bit more, guys? Here we go. I'll just get rid of my echo cancellation. That bell is enormous, guys. It's the biggest bell in the city. It's about a half a mile away from me. Beautiful, huh? Every midnight. Also every 7 in the morning. I usually miss that one for obvious reasons. But yeah, it's a very calming bell. It's kind of spiritual every night. And to know that everyone in this town is hearing it, you know, at the same time, it's kind of the end of as our day comes to a close here in this old town. This dirty old town. There we go. Guys, thanks for hanging out. Sorry I didn't do, what was it called? Who Needs a Drink? Well, I kind of did a Who Needs a Drink at the end, a mini version there with Alex. But I just figured you've probably had enough of all that stuff, chats, and going to be focusing a lot more on the real content on the channel, which I'm sure you're all very happy about. So Solvents is asking, any stream tomorrow? No, I won't be doing, because normally SWAT's on a Saturday. Just decided to do it tonight. Alex really wanted to talk about the video that I had made. He really enjoyed it, and he thought it was an important subject to cover. So I said, why don't we do it tonight? Come on, let's get straight into it. Also, I noticed that on Saturday, not everybody can make the stream because they're out. They've got an actual social life, and they're out doing their stuff on a Saturday evening or late afternoon if you're in the States or whatever. So I figured, why not do the Friday and let everybody wind down to a little hardcore watch chat. Here's this question again. When is iBashers back? You know what? Maybe I'll do iBashers. You never know. I'll ask Dirk. How about that? Thank you, Daniel, for reminding me. Maybe I'll ask Dirk if he wants to do iBashers tomorrow or Sunday. See if he's in the mood for that. That'd be a nice treat, yeah? Bring Dirk back in to the thing. Again, it was just because his father passed away and he had stuff going on, so wasn't any lack of want to do the iBashers. We're definitely still doing it. Once again, guys, anybody who's hanging around, nearly 400 of you still here, can you go over and sub to the SWAT channel? There is the link in the chat, because I'm going to be moving this show over to that channel. So if you love this show and you want to not miss any of the episodes, you better get over there and sub. I think it's still streaming over there right now. So if you go over, you're not going to miss anything I'm saying right now. You'll just catch the stream in the exact same place. Give it a sub, and that way, when you want to see SWAT, you want to see Serious Watch Talk with myself and Alex, you'll find it there. I'm going to phase it out of my channel and move it over there, just to separate, one thing from another. So, we have clear goals on everything. Mr. Seiko, thank you. Subbed. Thank you so much. Today, I'm subbed. Subbed last week, says Solvents. Thank you. I know a lot of you guys already heard this, and you don't need to hear it again. But it's going to help. And we'll do the Serious Watch Talk over there. And I hope to get on guests, other watch enthusiasts and other channels, hosts, and so on. I was thinking about asking Elizabeth Grant, if she wants to come on, and various other people, see if they want to chat watches with us kind of in a hardcore manner, movements, watch heads, cases, bracelets, buying, selling, the whole thing, and pure unadulterated watch talk with no hidden agenda or spruiking or any nonsense. The way we want it, the way we like it. All right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. I will leave you to the rest of your Friday night. I wish you all the best, and I will see you guys maybe tomorrow or Sunday for iBashers. And if not, I'll see you guys next week. Just have a look around, keep your eyes peeled, and if you see iBashers pop up on your notifications there, then you'll know that we're up for a good old chinwag. Tim Wright says, upvote and subscribe. Thank you so much, Tim. You guys should do that for Tim's channel also. Have a great night and all the best to you all. Take care.